So I just saw over the weekend Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Christopher McQuarrie returns to the director's chair once again. Tom Cruise, Simon Pegg, Ving Rhames, and everybody who's anybody from the previous film, with a few faces in here as well. Hayley Atwell and Esai Morales. Like with the previous Mission Impossible films, a new threat has popped up that has severe world-ending ramifications, and Ethan's mission, should he choose to accept it, is to stop it from happening. But this time, as opposed to the other threats that he's encountered in the past, it's in the form of an AI known as the Entity. And Esai Morales' character is a servant of the Entity. The thing to expect from Mission Impossible by now, we all know what we're gonna get out of this. Tom Cruise is gonna do all these crazy stunts. There's some big world-ending threat, and he has to rely on his team to help him stop it. It's really there just to go for the spectacle. Not to say that there hasn't been any character building moments for Ethan Hunt with his wife, but other than that, we don't really get to see much about his character, his backstory, and where he came from, and how he got into this life as a secret agent, at least until this movie. Now, in case you don't want to know, you don't have to worry. I'm not going to go into any specifics. They do shed some light on how Ethan got dragged into this lifestyle, and particularly in how they play into it with Hayley Atwell's character, who's a new addition here, and she actually proves to be very self-sufficient and very reliable. Even though she is somewhat of a loose cannon, she actually turns out to be a thief who accidentally bumps into Ethan while they're on a mission to stop the Entity from getting its hands onto certain things. Without being so specific, every single world government wants to get their hands on the Entity because that way they can use it to gain some kind of military superpower. I mean, with that kind of artificial intelligence, who doesn't want to get their hands on it? Ethan sees it as too dangerous of a power to wield and wants to shut it down completely once he gets his hands on it. And we have the usual interplay amongst the team that we all have seen in some of the previous films, like with Benji's tech help. Simon Pegg, once again, is a joy to watch. He always provides the right amount of comic relief without becoming too annoying. Ving Rhames, once again, is the moral heart and soul and anchor, trying to keep him from going too far off the rails. And Rebecca Ferguson as Ilsa returns once again, although her role is very limited this time around. Not going to say anything else other than that. But like I said, with this being about the spectacle, this movie delivers that and then some. People still may argue that the Burj Khalifa sequence in the fourth film was the best of the whole series, along with the helicopter sequence in Mission Impossible Fallout. Well, you might be in for a surprise with this one. There's a couple of sequences in here that within 5 or 10 minutes tops the other one that came before it. As I was watching the movie, I thought, okay, how are they going to top this one? Okay, alright, how are they going to follow up on that? Oh my god, they just did that. How are they going to follow up on that? Oh my god, they did that. I need a minute. That's more or less how I felt. And we've all seen the moment in the trailers where Tom Cruise takes a huge leap off of this cliff while he's riding a motorcycle. Eventually that leads into the train sequence, but that crazy SOB. There is a specific part on the train sequence that instantly reminded me of Uncharted 2, the opening of Uncharted 2, where Nathan Drake wakes up on a train and has to climb out of it. We've seen the train crash in the preview, so it's not really a surprise that it eventually does that, but if you've seen the movie and you're also an Uncharted fan, you'll instantly pick up on the similarities. Not one word of a lie, I actually had to take at least an hour or two to calm myself down, because my adrenaline was through the stratosphere after seeing this. Only Tom Cruise can make you feel that way. But it's not just the usual stuff of Tom Cruise pulling off these crazy stunts, or seeing his team interplay and hearing the classic Mission Impossible theme. The AI, or the Entity, provides a very unique and scary type of threat for Ethan and his team. At one point when he's running through the streets of Venice trying to find somebody, the Entity manages to hack into their comms and make Ethan think that Benji's actually directing him on where to go, and Benji realizes a little too late that he's actually being fooled, causing him and Luther to shut down their equipment and rely on analog. It's not something that we haven't seen before in other movies like with Terminator, Age of Ultron, or some of the lesser movies in that category like Stealth. The idea is still there, that it's a very evolving and self-learning type of sentient being, that if it were allowed to kind of run free with its own thought, God only knows what it could do. And now that we're seeing this stuff with the writer's strike, we're trying to contend with AI and how we're going to incorporate that into our everyday lives. I mean, we're already seeing that with like, Hey Siri, Hey Alexa, Hey Google. This movie, I think, in some ways is going to provoke some conversations about how we're going to use AI going forward in the future. I mean, not to go too off topic here, but if we were to use AI, which I don't think is a bad thing, keep it on the level of the droids in Star Wars. Because Obi-Wan said, if droids can think, there'd be none of us here, would there? And Esai Morales' character proves to be a very worthy opponent for Ethan in this one. Most of the Mission Impossible villains aren't really the most iconic. They're not exactly known that way. The only one that really sticks out for me is Philip Seymour Hoffman's Owen Davian from the third film. Esai Morales might actually be number 2. as of right now anyway. He provides all these different possibilities and possible outcomes, constants and variables. Since the entity is a computer brain, it has to think in all these different scenarios and possibilities. And it really, for me anyway, illustrates just how exactly painted into a corner Ethan really is when he's fighting against something that he's never really fought before. Giving Luthor the opportunity to ground Ethan and saying, Ethan, don't listen to that. Just get to where you want to be and get out of there. Now, I'm going to reserve judgment until I see the next film. This is a two-parter, but as of now, this movie just might be in the top tier of Mission Impossible movies. And it occurred to me just now, they haven't changed directors since Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Christopher McQuarrie is still behind the camera on this one. It was a thing that was known for Mission Impossible for a while, that it would change up directors every single movie, which I think is kind of cool in a way that you get to have a different flavor every movie, but it's also somewhat of a gamble, that sometimes a movie might not be as great. Even though Rogue Nation was obviously a step down, it still had a legitimate sense of urgency to it. And the franchise has maintained a sense of consistency since then. To be honest, I would rather prefer that. That way, you at least know what you're getting into. So Dead Reckoning Part 1, all I could say is go watch it. If you have a chance at any point this weekend, along with Oppenheimer or the Barbie movie, if you are really going to see that, put that in the list somewhere. I mean, check it out as soon as you can, if or when you have the time. Just watch it for that train sequence alone. That is worth the price of admission. Thanks again, guys, for watching. Comment below and tell me what your thoughts are on Dead Reckoning Part 1 if you've seen it. And as always, see you in the next one.